Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Courtside Soundoff podcast. I'm Josh Evanoff. He's Angel Ortega. A lot of stuff this week: UFC, NBA, boxing. Also, if you're a college football fan, start of football. Football's back. We won't talk about that, but just something I want to mention. Before I talk about all the stuff of the podcast, I want to talk about Amazon, because Amazon is the number one online store today and has been for years. It's managed games, books, movies. It's all at Amazon.com. If you buy the link on our Podbean page or the YouTube page, it helps support the podcast. Like, support us. If you get something you want, buy the link. It helps us. You can help yourself as well. UFC was this morning from Shenzhen, China. The main event, Jessica Andrade, the relatively new strawweight champion, defeated Rose Namajunas in late May, defending her title in home territory. In Willie Zhang's home territory of China. Never has there been a UFC champion from China. Now there has been. Jessica Andrade went out there blasting, throwing combinations. Really in her just kind of normal style of leaning forward and throwing haymakers all over the place. Zhang caught her with a right elbow and then followed up with like another right hook that nearly dropped Andrade and then threw a combination from hell all over the place. It was an amazing combination. And then ultimately, Andrade went down and she got the finish. Willie Zhang is your new women's strawweight champion. It is the first champion from China. Angel, I know you saw the finish. What do you think about the new champion from China? China number one.
Like I told you, I felt, and I mentioned on the last podcast, I was like, dude, she was brought in for this. I'm pretty sure. I'm like, she came in here to take over. And, I was right. She did. She's here now. She's a champ. And what was it, a little bit less than a year now, almost a year now, right?
She's been fighting.
Well, in the UFC.
A little bit over a year. Her first fight was at UFC 227.
So yeah, no, I saw the knockout. It was great. Didn't want to wake up that early for the card. I tried to, but I just couldn't. I guess we can see Rose sooner now. That's even a possibility for her, whatever her plans are going forward. But yeah, it's exciting, man. Good for China.
Good for China. You mentioned Rose. I think that'd be an awesome fight, but I think Rose needs to get a win. A fight that I would like to see. Like if there's matchmaking going on, I don't have anything on this for Rose's next fight, but I think they're gonna do something like Paige Van Zandt. That's my prediction. Paige's final fight of a contract. There was a big thing with her coming out and talking about how she doesn't like her pain. She's probably going to go to Bellator. I think she gets fed to Rose relatively soon. And Rose said she has a fight coming up. That's what I think makes sense. As for what's next for Zhang, that was an amazing fight, an amazing performance. I didn't expect it at all. I picked Andrade, and I felt pretty secure in that. Like, listen, man, Willie Zhang, it must have had to do with the competition because she's faced nobody of note in the UFC. 3 fights, 29-28 win over Danielle Taylor. Beating Jessica Aguilar, who got cut from the UFC. Taylor also got cut from the UFC. And then beating Tisha Torres in the midst of a 4-fight losing streak. That's not really great competition. And then all of her other opponents are on Wikipedia pages. And then she went out and smashed Jessica Andrade in 42 seconds. And Jessica Andrade has been around in the UFC since they've had women, like a women's division, like a true pioneer of the UFC's women's division. Amazing win. What I want next for her is either the winner of Joanna Michelle Waterson. I honestly thought Waterson deserved a title shot going to Zhang. Or I would like Tatiana Suarez. Tatiana Suarez has been called the female Khabib. I've been very high on her ever since I first saw her, and then she's just been looking better and better. I believe she's undefeated, 19-1 versus 8-0. Suarez has been in the UFC for like 3 years now, I think. Dominating wins over Grasso, Esparza, and Ansarov. I would love to see that fight. I'm not sure, but I'd like either the Michelle Waterson, Joanna Jędrzejczyk winner, or Tatiana Suarez next for Zhang, who probably will be fighting relatively soon. I mean, she's very consistent, very, very active as a fighter, and then she really didn't even get hurt at all in this fight, so I'd love to see that. Co-main event, really quickly, I want to give a quick shout out to Li Jianglong. I've been watching this dude. The Leech is one of the most entertaining fighters in the UFC, in my opinion. He's been fighting since 2007. He's been around for a really long time. This is the greatest performance of his career, hands down. Elizu Zaleski dos Santos was on a.
That was really good. I want you to know that was really impressive because even I was trying to pronounce it in my head.
I tried really hard. Elizu Zaleski dos Santos was on a 7-fight win streak, I believe. It might have even been 8, and he's beat a lot of really good guys. Lyman Good, Max Griffin, Sean Strickland, Curtis Millender, and he got dominated. That wasn't even close. That's a quick shout to Li Jianglong. There's some other good performances on the card. Majuri Zuru defeated Andre Sukumtat, who's a really good guy. Had that close fight with Sean O'Malley in O'Malley's last fight, which was, I believe, a year and a half ago. Kai Kara France got a nice win. Mizuki Inoue, one of my favorite women's prospects, coming over from Invicta in her debut, she won. Overall, a fun card. Didn't expect it to be. I woke up later. I did not wake up at 4 a.m. to cover the card. I wasn't going to do that. So shout out to Danny from Cageside Press for doing that, because I wasn't going to do it. But we're going to talk about the UFC next week, as I mentioned last week, that we're going to have to be doing this because the cards are, earlier and earlier. And just UFC 242 starts at 1 p.m. our time. The main card does anyway. So it'll be some nice afternoon MMA as opposed to some nice 4 a.m. MMA. The main event, Khabib Nurmagomedov, his first appearance since dominating Conor McGregor I want to say over a year ago, but that doesn't sound right. Anyways, it's been close to a year since we've seen him. Beat McGregor, beat Ally Quinta before that. Pound for pound, in my opinion, one of the greatest, fighters, lightweights of all time. Pound for pound, one of the greatest fighters in the UFC in the moment. Undefeated, 27-0, the undisputed champion taking on the interim champion, Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier became the interim champion while Nurmagomedov was out on suspension due to him fighting after fighting Conor McGregor. And Poirier's on a tear right now, man. Like, if we're, including, I believe he's unbeaten. He's only been beaten once in his last 10 fights or something like that. Maybe even 11. Nancy Medeiros, Joseph Duffy, Bobby Green, Jim Miller, Pettis, Gaethje, Alvarez, Holloway. That is a ridiculous resume. And last time out, he beat Max Holloway in a really close fight, took the lightweight title. And now he's going to face Khabib, and I think this is probably going to be, this is by far going to be the toughest fight of Khabib's career. Dustin Poirier is a really underrated grappler. He showed that in his fight with Pettis. He's an amazing scrambler. However, I look at this kind of like, it's really hard for me to, I feel like it's kind of the thing of we haven't seen Khabib in a long time. So we're going to see how good he is again. Khabib's a guy that's never really been that active to begin with, and now he's been gone for close to a year. But listen, man, he dominated McGregor. He made Ally Quinta look like a scrub. He 50-43'd Ally Quinta, dominated Edson Barboza, dominated Michael Johnson. He 26 Rafael Dos Anjos. Listen, I don't think there's anybody that can stand up in Khabib, in the grappling department, just in my opinion. I think he's just one of the greatest grapplers in the UFC. I think he's one of the greatest grapplers of all time. Whenever he rolls with Daniel Cormier, and Daniel Cormier's he's one of the strongest guys I've ever grappled with. And I'm sure you guys know this, but Daniel Cormier's a heavyweight. I like Nurmagomedov in this fight. I think Dustin Poirier is going to make a great account of himself. I would not be surprised if Dustin Poirier is the new lightweight champion coming out of next Saturday night. I would not be surprised at all. However, I'm going to go with Khabib in this one. Angel, who you got in the UFC 242 main event?
No, obviously you laid it out for us. I recently went back, I forgot what it was, and I think on YouTube the UFC uploaded or not so long ago, they put up a Khabib fight, and I rewatched it. I forgot which one it was. I watched all 37 minutes of it, so if that says anything about how much free time I have, well, there you go. But I went back, I watched all of it, dude, and this man just fucking lays on people like a bear, dude. Like a bear. Like, it's just insane. When he's just, it doesn't make any sense to me how they can't push him off, how they can't do it. They're clearly the other guy has skills. He's a fighter. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's just like he has that it factor. He's that anomaly where he's just that much special than everybody else. He's just that much better than everybody, and it just gives him that advantage going into it. And it's hard for me to bet against a guy who has that it factor, because there's a lot of guys where I'm like, I don't know, it's a toss-up. Maybe, when it comes to boxing, even sometimes in the UFC, I would be like, I don't know who will win. I'm not 100% sold on it. I'm not like, that person's going to win. Especially in MMA, where in anything, a lot of shit can happen in MMA. But with Khabib, it's like, he just has that thing for me where I'm like, I have that much confidence in him to constantly pick him over anybody else, just because he's proven me time and time again why he's so good, and just kind of like, the skill he provides on the ground of him just having that ability to just stay on top the entire time. Stay on top constantly, not letting go, and just being there relentlessly, just laying on top. And I mean, he's been made fun of for, maybe not having, the greatest hands, but I still stand. I love that gif of him hitting Connor. It's him throwing, I think it's Connor's whiskey at him, or him punching him, right? And it's about, ever since I saw that hit, I think maybe not all the boxing skills are there, maybe not all the feet skills are there, but he can throw a hit. He's a fighter, so I will never question that. Obviously, I mean, personally, I have to go with Khabib here. 27-0. The resume speaks for itself. Constantly going there. Shout out to Dustin, though. He's going in with a good fight, with a great chance. Obviously, anything's possible. I hope he can impress me. I hope he can maybe present certain challenges Khabib hasn't seen previously, and create for maybe a more interesting fight for maybe a more casual fan who's coming in and doesn't, maybe know too much about Khabib, but knows from friends. Because, I imagine a lot of people are like, oh, Khabib's fighting, from people who are more into the UFC. Maybe they'll bring someone in who is new to the environment, and kind of maybe seeing a Khabib fight isn't the greatest thing, but maybe because of Dustin, maybe that can change and it can be a bit more entertaining.
Yeah, you mentioned about how, like, he's like a bear on top, and he just grapples people. It's kind of funny because, growing up, he grappled with bears in Dagestan. Khabib is a ridiculous grappler. I agree with you. I think he's going to take the win. The co-main event is certainly an interesting one. Edson Barboza, Paul Felder. It seems like to me like they're on the card that if anything goes wrong with Nurmagomedov or Poirier at the weigh-ins, they can step in. And by they step in, I mean it'd be Paul Felder. Paul Felder, I believe, has won 4 of his last 5. Some nice wins over Stevie Ray, James Vick in there. His only loss being to Mike Platinum Perry, the GOAT. Barboza is coming off of a fight of the night loss to Justin Gaethje. That was a banger of a fight that only went 3 minutes. However, it was still an awesome fight. He's lost to like 3 of his last 4. A win over Dan Hooker being the only win. He got dominated by Kevin Lee, got dominated by our champion Khabib, and got dominated by Justin Gaethje. He didn't really get dominated, but that was more of a flash knockout 2 minutes in, 3 minutes in. I'm really back and forth with this one. I know that he beat Paul Felder something like 4 or 5 years ago. A long time ago, he beat Paul Felder. Like, this was not anything recent. I want to say it was 4 years ago. But I'm going to take Paul Felder in this one. I think he's just like, he's gelling in a way that I really, really like right now. And I think that Barboza's chin, I think he's been in way too many wars. I think he's been through a lot, like he got dominated by Lee, got TKO'd, got KO'd by Gaethje, got dominated by Khabib, took a lot of punches to the head. He was in a war with Dan Hooker as well. I think that's kind of wearing on him. He's getting up there in age. And I think Paul Felder isn't older. I know he's like 35, and I think Barboza's like 34 or something. But I'm going to take Felder this one. I think he's gelling, looking great. And there's some other fights on the card, but the one I really want to point out is Curtis Blades, Shamil Abdurakhimov, a battle of top 10 heavyweights. Curtis Blades, in my opinion, is one of the most, like, he's so damn good at heavyweight. The dude's an incredible grappler. If you guys didn't see him earlier this year against Justin Willis, he absolutely dominated Willis. He has wins over Alistair Overeem, wins over Mark Hunt, Alexei Oleinik. His only losses in his career are to Francis Ngannou. Honestly, I'm picking him here, and I think Abdurakhimov is a really underrated heavyweight. I think that he's like a guy with a lot of talent, but he's kind of off and on, so he doesn't really get to show it. But he has wins over Walt Harris, Chase Sherman, Andre Arlovsky, and Narsingh Tabora. But I am gonna take Curtis Blades here. Angel, is there any fight on the card that you really want to talk about outside of the ones that like the main event? I mean,
not right now.
Not right now. All right. Well, that kind of wraps us up for UFC talk, except for BJ Penn is our cool guy of the week. Because BJ Penn, I'm not sure if you guys know this, but BJ, there's been a lot of reports coming out of Hilo, Hawaii, that he's been fighting with some drunk men in the street. And the good news is that he did win one. I saw that he got into a street fight a couple weeks ago, and he won that one. He got his first win since 2011. However, he would follow that up with a loss. Actually, here's how the story goes. Hall of Famer BJ Penn. I guess he was fighting some drunk dude on the street, and he got knocked out cold, right? He got put out, and his head hit the pavement, and it was really bad. He came to, like, a second later, but still he got put out cold by some fat guy without a shirt. And then he woke up, and I guess he took the guy down and beat the shit out of him in the street, and he got his back, and he started hitting him in, like, the head or whatever. I'm like, BJ went 1-1 in one night, and I'm like, damn, you know, this dude's falling hard. However, at least he's getting some wins nowadays. Angel, I'm not sure if you saw that story, but it's something I wanted to talk about.
Oh yeah, I commented on it on Twitter.
Yeah, it's something, alright. Our other nomination for Cool Guy of the Week goes to DeMarcus Cousins. Runner-up. I guess this one's actually more of a sad story. I mean, they're both sad stories, but I think BJ's is kind of more funny, just because he's losing to random shirtless fat guys in Hawaii. But DeMarcus Cousins, we all know he had the ACL tear. He's had probably the most horrific stretch of anybody in the NBA as of late. Obviously the Achilles, and then the quadriceps, and then the ACL tear, which happened just, a week or two ago. Well, okay, so TMZ leaked a story about how, he got married, and it was actually a really nice thing. It was like he married his longtime girlfriend, and everybody's like, yeah, good for DeMarcus, we're happy for him. Everybody's like, oh, good for DeMarcus, he can dance at his wedding, he's doing good, all that stuff. Well, TMZ leaked a video. I guess he's talking to his ex-girlfriend, his baby mom, whatever. It was like, can my son come to my wedding? She was like, no, or whatever. He's like, alright, I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna put a bullet in your fucking head. And,
that took a fucking turn.
Yeah, that's exactly how it went. Those were his exact words. I'm not gonna, like, beat around the bush. He said he was gonna put a bullet in her fucking head. And she, like, reported to the police and also said that, like, he's abused her in the past. And the police determined that was enough for a misdemeanor domestic violence charge and a third-degree harassing communications charge. And 2 days ago, a warrant was issued for his arrest. I don't know if he actually ever turned himself in. I haven't seen. There's been no follow-up, which is kind of disappointing because I want to know what's going on with the guy. But there's nothing. There's nothing really. Angel, I don't know if you have any opinion on this. I don't know if you have, like, any thoughts, but,
No insider information if that's what you're asking. Opinion-wise, though, pretty sad. Kind of like all this stuff that's going on in his life right now. You put it all kind of together, just kind of all stacking on top of each other. Really doesn't help the situation. And this, just to top it off, probably just puts him in a shitty mood. Hopefully nothing bad happens to him. More bad than already is going on, because it's pretty bad for his image. And, hopefully maybe one or two things work out in his life right now.
Yeah, hopefully something works out. I saw a lot of people on, like, Instagram, whenever it got reported that he had a warrant issued for arrest. It was like, man, this is bullshit, man. He shouldn't be, the bitch is doing this, man. I'm like, listen, bro, I don't care what she did. You can't threaten to kill somebody over the phone. You can't, like, one thing to do it in person, alright? I'm not saying this is a good thing to do, but you can't threaten to kill someone over the phone, okay? That's, he's not the smartest guy.
What do you mean, Josh? I'm trying to kill you over Skype a millions of times after the podcast.
But that's Skype. It's different.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Makes sense.
I'm not recording this conversation. His ex recorded those conversations. That's why he's in trouble. That's why he's in big trouble. In other NBA news that's like less dangerous, Eric Gordon signed 4 years, $72 million, re-signed with the Rockets. I think it's a really good move. I think he's a really good piece for them. I think that like they need that shooting. Because really, you need to surround guys like him on that team, given how that team's built. And he's a really good guy. You can kick it out to. He gives you a solid 16 to 18 points a game. A very productive piece for the Rockets. I like him a lot on that team. Angel, what do you take of this move? Do you think that he was overpaid? Do you think he was underpaid? What do you think?
I think it was okay. I don't say it's bad. Like probably for what he provides at this moment in time for the team, I think is good enough for him. I don't think you're going to be too mad about it. Because you got to think about the people who are there besides him. So I think it's fair, it's justified. I'm happy he's there. Honestly, I like the team, the older team they had a while back, where it was mainly when they still had Pat Beverly and it was Eric Gordon and it was James. I kind of like that team a bit more. Like out of all the different iterations we've had throughout the last couple of years with the Rockets lineup, that's what I liked the most personally. Mainly because of Eric. I felt like he got to show out more. Now, when Chris entered and then, that kind of affected the team and how they played. Then now with Russ, I mean, I don't know. I'm not quite sure how that's going to affect his numbers and all that. I'm sure it'll change. But, I mean, hopefully things work out. I'm happy he's back. Really good guy to have on your team once again. I'm sure he has faith in the team. That's why he stayed even through all, the bullshit that's gone on inside and I guess maybe even on the court. And I guess he's excited to see how this new team plays with Russ on it. No, for sure that shooting is definitely going to help. But also, in other news, did you know Zaza Pachulia retired and is now consultant for the Golden State Warriors?
Really?
Yes.
I had no.
Okay, yeah.
What do you about that?
Okay, so this isn't less, relevant, important news. But yeah, Zaza retired and now he's a consultant for the Golden State Warriors. That's all I had to say. Keep it simple.
I like that move. I'm glad that I'm glad you brought that up. I did not know that. Good for Zaza. I mean, I really hate him, and I think he was the most dirty player in the league for probably the last 5 years. But hey, good for him.
Good for the guy. Yeah, going forward, he will be a consultant of the Golden State Warriors.
Good for him.
They have a lot of ex-players on like the Warriors, like just assist. Because I know Nash does some stuff with the team, and obviously Steve Kerr, coach, and now they have Zaza. So I think that's interesting.
I also think that's interesting. And real quick, I want to go back to your point about the Rockets and how you like that old team with Pat Bev, Gordon, and James. I agree. I like that team a lot more than I like the current one. And I still, something I was thinking about actually is I'm not sure how Russell's going to fit into that team. They're going to need to work. Huh?
I ask myself that every day.
Yeah, they're really going to have to work that out. Because, I understand Russell and James have had to have conversations about, how they're going to play and who's going to take the back seat. Because it seems like more of a desperation move by the Rockets. I know we didn't really talk about this at the time. I know we talked about the move itself, but, we didn't really talk about how, at length about how it's going to work out. In hindsight, I don't like that move a whole lot. It seemed like they went out and kind of, just got the big star, and they were desperately trying to get rid of Chris Paul, so they did that. And honestly, I think for how the team works, they should have kept Chris Paul, even if they hated each other. Because for how their play styles are, Chris Paul works better with James Harden right now than Russell Westbrook does.
Facts.
So I think Russell's gonna have to take a big back seat, and I'm sure they're gonna be good enough to I bet they could probably make the Western Conference Finals depending on how things play out. I don't think they're gonna be bad. I still think they're gonna be a top probably 3 team in the West. But I'm really interested to see how they're going to play out.
I think the way someone described it to me was I think it makes sense because they have their shooters right outside, which would be PJ, Eric, and then obviously James, and then obviously they have their big man Delom too. So the way it worked is Russell would never have to shoot. He would always get to drive in, and if he couldn't make the drive, he'd pass out. So he'd always have someone. I think that's how someone explained it to me, which makes sense. And if not, obviously the lob. But that's kind of like obviously there'd be more technical play, more specific ways they would run it, and how they handle it. But that's the way someone told me to do it. For literally, Russell would drive, and if you couldn't lob it, he couldn't, or he would pass it out, one of the two, or he'd drive in and take the foul.
Yeah. Well, that'll work out. But I still I'm interested to see how they're going to play on like a night-to-night basis. Like their team I'm going to be watching on Game Pass like a lot.
Oh yeah.
But
for sure.
I think that kind of wraps up NBA news for the week. Unless you have other news of
other breaking news.
Other breaking news.
Carmelo Anthony now, okay.
Signs with the Brooklyn Nets.
Starting next season.
Just wait, dude. It's gonna happen. Just wait.
I think if anything, it's more likely for him to go to the Lakers, though. But if he were to,
Lakers don't have a spot open anymore.
Not anymore. What do you mean? They can get rid of Boogie.
They could get rid of Boogie, but they didn't.
The disrespect.
They could have gotten rid of Boogie. It seemed like it would have made sense for them to release Boogie to sign DeMarcus, to sign Jesus Christ, Dwight, but they didn't. So I think they might just keep him on because I think he can come back, but I don't know.
I don't know what their logic is. Maybe stuff will change before the season starts or during the season. You saw how long Carmelo was on the Rockets before he was, kind of, let go.
Yeah, he played 10 games, but he was there till the trade deadline.
True.
Which is really kind of crazy.
But like I said, we'll see in the middle of the season. We'll just see what when trade deadline hits.
We will see. But yeah, that should, like I said, I don't believe you have any more breaking news. So that takes us to boxing. Last week, Sergey Kovalev taking on Anthony Yard, light heavyweights. That was way better a fight than I think most people assumed. Yard had Kovalev on the ropes, and I believe round 9. I thought Kovalev controlled the fight for the most part, but in round 9, he got rocked hard, like really, really badly, and it looked like Yard was going to get the finish. However, Kovalev survived. He showed that veteran kind of spirit. He stayed in there, and then he came back, and I believe the 11th. Really, by this point, Yard was gassed out. He was gone on the feet, and he put him down with a left straight, and he was not getting up. An 11th round TKO win, actually KO win, for not Anthony or Jesus Christ. I am stumbling all around today. For Sergey Kovalev defeating Anthony Yard, retaining his WBO light heavyweight title. And afterwards, I saw that his trainer said, the not Pacquiao. Oh my God, I'm messing up. Holy shit. The Canelo fight works for them, and apparently they're going to negotiate it for November, because that's what Canelo and his team wants. That's what Golden Boy wants. And I understand there's been issues with Golden Boy and Canelo, but, they're talking about it, and I guess his trainer's we're liking it, we're liking that time, and I'm like, this seems to me like they're trying to cash out. Maybe it's just me, but it seems like they're trying to cash out for that big kind of money fight that is Canelo at this point, because you don't turn around after a war and take a fight on, what would that be? That would be 2 months notice, something like that. They just hop straight back into camp after he just took a lot of damage. But who knows? Obviously, they were originally, this was supposed to be Kovalev and Canelo as it was, but that ended up falling through. I don't know. I just think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be made relatively soon. And I'm really looking forward to it. I think that's a really, really interesting matchup, especially considering that he's coming off a war. He's taken a lot of damage, especially recently. The Yard fight and the Alvarez, the first fight. He's taken a lot of damage recently. I think it's going to be really interesting to see that one.
For sure, my guy. Like you said, it was a lot better than what I thought. Obviously, Yard had his chance. Once again, like you mentioned, the gas tank. It just died. It was just not there after that. After that one round, it was the 8th or 9th. I can't remember off the top of my head. And obviously, like you mentioned, this man just pulled it back together and ended with the finish. He could have done it. As crazy as it sounds, he could have actually won that in that moment. He didn't do it. Kudos to him though. Definitely shut a lot of mouths up, but kept a lot of mouths open because of obviously him not taking that win when he had the opportunity. I'll give it to him though. There's a lot of good things. He's still young. He can come back from it. He just needs to learn how to monitor his tank a bit better. I'm sure that's a thing that a lot of young boxers, especially at this weight class, struggle with. But definitely very impressed. I liked it a lot. I liked a lot of what I saw. He showed some good stuff out there. Hopefully in his next fight is someone of, challenging, who is good, who will obviously, if he wins, will elevate him because he, like I said, he showed a lot. And I think, I think he didn't have a lot, like last time I really didn't think he was going to show a lot. He proved me wrong. I'll admit to it. I'll admit to it now. I thought he didn't have a lot to give Kovalev, but he did. I did say I do think he has something to give to the sport, and he does. He proved that here again. But I'm excited to see Yord fight again, especially after this fight. Obviously, I was not, a bit disappointed with him because, him not taking his opportunity when he had it. But obviously impressed with Kovalev by being to come back from all the damage he took, because that was really impressive. I just didn't expect it. I thought the next round might have been just, bombs dropped out of Yard, but that wasn't the case. Kovalev came back, used those years of experience and all the situations he's been in time and time again to pull it out, and he did.
Yeah, listen, man, Yard really, really impressed me for a lot of reasons. I mean, we kind of knew he was heavy-handed going in, but, he completely just skipped, pretty much the main scene. You know what I mean? He went straight from the regional scene in England to fighting, a top 3 light heavyweight, and he made a damn good account of himself. Sergey Kovalev was the first person he faced with a Wikipedia page, for God's sakes, and he nearly finished him. And he really, really impressed me. Kovalev, though, he had that resilience. He showed that veteran fighting spirit. He came back, and he got the nice win. And I'm reading it right now. Apparently The Athletic reported that Kovalev's team, they balked at a November 2nd date for a fight with Canelo. I guess DAZN and Canelo really want that November 2nd fight for Alvarez's return, and a career high purse for Kovalev hangs in the balance. I don't think it's safe at all for a fighter to take a fight 10 weeks after they got knocked out. And it's more of a leverage thing for Canelo and his team. They're not even going to give him a chance to breathe. I don't know, man. That's a really tough thing. It's do you want to put your shit on the line? Do you care more about winning, or do you care more about the payday? That's what it kind of comes down to me. Do you care about the payday? That big of a chance to drastically shoot down your chances of winning. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. I love that fight as a whole. I know when we first talked about it, a couple months ago, that I'm very, very high on that fight. I love that fight for Kovalev. I love that fight for Canelo. I think it's a very interesting style matchup, and it'll show just how much skill can go against weight. And not saying Kovalev is skilled, because Kovalev is an incredibly skilled light heavyweight. However, he's getting a significant up there in age. He's taking a lot of damage. So it'll be very interesting to see if Canelo can get that win there. We're going to follow what happens there, though. Because I don't think you should take that November 2nd date.
Alrighty, we will see.
There is boxing later today, though. At 4 o'clock our time, I believe. Loma, Campbell. But before that, we got Alexander Povetkin Povetkin returning for the first time 2 years, I want to say, against the greatest Fury. Okay, we're not talking about Tyson. Okay, we're talking about Huey Fury. Okay, this is actually an extremely short notice fight for both. I think this only got announced 3 weeks ago, and part of the reason that I even know that is because I know Huey Fury just fought on that, what was it? It was the card in Saudi Arabia, which is now in the news again. And he fought, like, on the undercard against Sam Peter, and Povetkin's returning for the first time in, like, over a year, like, well over a year. Listen, man, this is really interesting because we can see just how much Povetkin has in the tank. Because I think if Povetkin is, like, comes out looking, if Povetkin is not at his best, okay, he should walk right through Huey Fury. And that's not to say Huey's bad, but that's to say that Huey is not in the top level of heavyweight. I don't think he's a top 10 heavy, like, fighter. I don't think he's there. That's not me trying to be mean, but, like, he's lost to the top guys, like, on a consistent basis. He lost to Pulev, he lost to Parker, and those are really the only top 2 guys he's faced. And now he's facing Povetkin, who is top 5 whenever he stepped away. He's beaten Price, Takam, Hammer, Azim Rodman. He has a lot of good wins in his career, and I think this is going to be another one. I think that if Povetkin is even close to what he was whenever he left a year ago, I think he should walk right through Huey Fury. Angel, who do you got?
No, I agree with you. I mean, even if you look at the losses, the level of difference in the losses, like the person, I mean, you can make it. I guess you can make an argument with Joshua kind of at this point, but even then, the man has only lost twice in his career. Once to Joshua, who I wouldn't say still not a top ranked guy, obviously still top ranked, but kind of like where we see him as a whole compared to, whatever, right? Because of the recent outcome, right? However you want to grade him. And then obviously the Klitschko loss, although so many years ago back, now 6 years back, which went to a decision, and even then wasn't that bad of a fight for Povetkin. I thought he showed some decent stuff in that fight, looking back at it. But, like I said, I mean, Fury is an interesting guy. He's a guy who's tried to break through into the top, but he hasn't been able to beat one of those better guys. It's not impossible. If he did it now, it'd be really impressive, because of the people he fought in the past and him not being able to, why wasn't he able to do it then and why can he do it now against this guy type of deal. It makes sense. I feel like it only makes sense for Povetkin to win. I hope it's a good boxing match. I hope it goes back and forth. I hope it's really good. I hate for it to end really quick, but I mean sometimes that's how it goes. Obviously, I want for it to show some. I'm just because of recent years. It's just kind of like how his wins and losses have been. It's kind of set for him to lose now. But I mean, I imagine Povetkin is going to win. This is kind of I feel like this is kind of set up for him. He fights a guy who's fought other guys who are relevant, hasn't beat him, but is kind of managed to stay in the talks somehow without being a top 10 guy. So I only imagine Povetkin winning this, to make him kind of look good on his little comeback, if you can even call it a comeback. So yeah, I have Povetkin taking this match.
I do as well. So we're in agreement there, and I'm assuming we're going to be in agreement in the biggest fight of today. Like I said, 4:00 on ESPN. Lomachenko taking on Luke Campbell. Listen, man, I firmly believe Lomachenko is like pound for pound number 1, the greatest boxer right now. And I don't need to go over his resume. We all know how good it is. We all know all the amateur accomplishments. We know like just how damn good this guy is. That's not to say Luke Campbell's like a scrub or anything. He's a very, very solid guy. I believe he was a gold medalist in the Olympics. He's an excellent boxer. Former, I believe he's WBC champ. Did lose to Jorge Linares, He's currently riding a 3-fight winning streak. To me, this seems like another really good performance for Lomachenko that's going to be coming. But I'm going to get your official prediction because I'm pretty sure we're going to be on the same page. But I've got Loma probably via decision here. I think Luke Campbell's very durable, but I want to know what you think.
It's interesting because Luke presents a lot of challenges. I think Lomachenko hasn't had to face a lot. One, the height. He stands at 5'9". I think Lomachenko's significantly, well, not significantly, 5'7", but it's still something, right? But it does look like he towers over him, like in some of the stuff I've seen, even though it's probably not that big of a difference once they're actually in the ring. The reach, also the man's a southpaw, so that's another thing. Kind of all those little, different tiny things he's going to provide that are just stuff that Loma hasn't had to deal with, like as a whole, and just the fact that he's just long and high. It's just going to be interesting just because of that. I think just the body type is just going to simply that is going to make a difference. I'm just curious to see how Loma deals with it. First couple rounds are going to be him figuring him out for sure. After that, Loma's probably going to change it up a little bit. He's just kind of that smart guy who can adapt real quick. Like I said, right now as it stands, probably one of the most polished boxers we can watch. I think if anybody wants to watch anybody and maybe model their style after anyone, he's probably is one of the most, best options you can see now. The movement, I don't think, Campbell doesn't move bad, but he's not going to move like Loma at all. Loma has a whole different level of movement, boxing-wise. He's just insanely polished. Every time we've mentioned him in this year, we just mention how good he is. So I imagine he'll probably go to decision. But I think overall, Luke could actually present some challenges. I don't think it's likely that Luke can win, but it's not impossible. I see it, I wouldn't be surprised at the end of that fight, Luke Campbell's name was called and not Loma's. Yeah.
So it seems like we're kind of sort of in agreement, but more on opposite sides. I think that Luke Campbell can present some challenges, but I don't think he'll be able to get the win. I don't think he really has much of a chance. I saw the weigh-ins. You mentioned the size. Luke Campbell looks bigger, but not significantly bigger to where it'll be that big of a challenge. And I do think that, his one loss, Loma's one loss of his career was to Saladito, and he was a much bigger guy than Loma, so I can kind of see the size argument there. But I don't think Campbell is that much bigger, just judging off, the weigh-ins in the video and the pictures and stuff. But I don't know. I've been wrong.
We will see, man. I've been wrong. You've been wrong. We've seen everything this year in MMA, boxing. So I wouldn't be surprised at this point. Literally last week with the Yard, that one round that could have been maybe different and it just didn't go. He just didn't go for it. And then, we'll see. Either way, good boxing match. I think I might miss it, sadly, just because I have work, but I'll try to catch it maybe on my break if I have time. Keep up with it on Twitter or something. But I don't know. Excited, happy. Povetkin, I have to catch that. I hope everybody catches that as well. Boxing-wise, though, I'd say a decent week. It's not maybe the best, but it's not the worst.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this fight a lot. I'm definitely going to watch it, and we'll be sure to give you guys a recap next week. But I do believe that does wrap us up for the most part this week. Unless you have anything else, Angel?
No, that's it for this week.
There is one thing I wanted to talk about, and it's Target. Because Target is one of the greatest stores today. It's never buying online or buying in store. It's always quality with good prices. Target is one of our sponsors. We bring you a quality podcast each and every single week. You buy the link on Podbean and help support us. Target, expect more, pay less. And that wraps us up for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. As always, I'm at Josh Evanoff on Twitter. He's at AngelOrtega_01. And we are at Courtside Soundoff on Instagram and at Courtside Sound 1 on Twitter. If you guys enjoyed, this one I understand I stumbled a lot this week. Probably the sleep, deprivation from waking up relatively early. I didn't catch the 2 a.m. card, but I caught the 6 a.m. one. So I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast though, and so we're out. So peace and butt grease. Mouse click.